get clients calling you now, even when they might think you can't photograph them. It's a challenging time for everybody right now. It's been a challenging year. We've still got a ways to go here. And what we do right now from a marketing standpoint in our business is paramount to us succeeding. What you can't do right now is fold up shop and tuck yourself in a corner and wait to ride this out, unless you are prepared and able and desiring to close your business, because that's what's going to happen from that. And there's no need for you to do that. So before we even get into this subject, Tom, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I didn't tell you I was going to do this, but I'm going to do it right now. Can you share with us how your photography business is going right now? Now, I know you're probably not photographing as many people as you would if this pandemic were not happening. But what is your business like right now in the tail end of 2020? What was it like? And what's it kind of like going on here for the first quarter or so? What's it looking like for 2021?
Yeah, the tail end of 2020 was about 60-70% of where we normally be. So it picked back up, but I could not book quite as many clients because I still wanted to do cleaning and cover the mandates, and it took a little longer to get people in and out. So I kind of put a governor or a throttle on the gas pedal of how many people we could take in, but the demand was certainly there. January, the first quarter of the year, is always traditionally kind of a slower time. It's mostly baby plan clients for me because they're being photographed year round. So that's currently mostly what we're doing. However, in our case, the state gave me a few rules I could go by, so I just started marketing and will be photographing my senior representatives or models, because we're able to do that now with certain restrictions, but they don't obviously have to wear masks. So it's not normal. Right now, it's probably same thing, 50-60% of what I normally would do in a beginning of the year, but it's more than enough if you're charging enough and if you're doing the rest of the system to at least keep things rolling. And you know, I'm getting referrals now. Honestly, I feel kind of bad about this. I had two the other day from clients that said, you know, we used to go to XYZ in your area, and they've decided to just close up. And I know they didn't do a lot of marketing, and I know they struggle, and I certainly don't take any kind of pleasure in that. But I know there are people out there that are just giving up. And if you can hang on, the demand is coming back and coming back big time. And we're talking now, the marketing we're doing now is for people for spring, summer, and fall even, and get those consultations, those creation fees in now and get them lined up for them.
Which you're going to see by the stuff that we talk about today, the stuff that Tom is doing right now, stuff that has been active. So just to give a dollar amount, if you don't mind sharing it, for September of 2020 through the end of December of 2020, do you remember what the number is? You gave it to me, so I remember it. Do you remember what the number is of the amount of money that you brought in just over those few months?
Todd, in my age, I can't remember what I put on my toast, but I know it was tens of thousands, 60, between 40 and 60, because since we've talked then, we've been doing our taxes, so I get to really realize, because some were from portrait sales, but it was tens of thousands of dollars per month for end of August, and then all of September, October, November, and December. So it was, and that's usually about 80% of our year. You know, our big part of our year is August on. And so even though it was only about 60%, I don't mean to get too in the weeds here, it still was the biggest number. If there had to be a time when it picked back up, that was a good time for it to be picked up back up. But $40,000-$50,000 area, I don't remember the specific numbers that you've got that I gave you, and it's a little more than that now, because as gift certificates are being redeemed, things like that. So
right, yeah, that
but
number
it was good. It was more than enough than we. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That has gone up a little bit since we talked last because of those gift certificates, and that's huge. Right. I mean, how many photographers out there would like to have been bringing in that amount of money in the tail end, the last 3, 4, 5 months or so of 2020, a really, really tough year. And there are probably a lot of photographers that are, hearing you say that and saying, man, I'll settle for 60% of what I used to make. A lot of photographers are making 0% of what they used to make, 5%, 10% maybe, right? And it's all because of what we're going to talk about now. Thank you for that, Tom. Thanks for sharing that. And so first, a couple of opening thoughts. I'll start with one. And then, Dad, I'm going to turn it over to you here in a second. But we want to start with a couple of broad opening thoughts. And the first thing is that you need to utilize your hot, warm, and cold lists consistently and constantly right now. And what we'll be more specific in a moment of what we mean by hot, warm, and cold. A lot of you probably already know that. But all three of those lists are very different in the approach that we're going to take toward them. All of them are equally important, but you're going to want to focus on everyone that you can get to, hot, warm, or cold as a prospect right now.
Yep. And the fact of the matter is most people right now are assuming that you can't photograph them. Okay. They're just assuming that. It's not safe. How can you photograph us with a mask on? I don't want that. And so that's what people are basically thinking. Okay. And so if they think that even remotely a small amount, they're not even going to bother contacting you. You'll never hear from them. So it's up to you to become proactive. It's up to you to go and make it known to your target market that you are here, you are working, and if you can legally photograph them, if your state will allow you to do that, that you're here and you're doing it now. And that's what we're going to talk about a lot right here in a few minutes.
Right. And that's what's so important is just basically assume from this point forward until COVID is a thing in the rearview mirror completely for everyone. Just assume that people think you cannot photograph them. Just assume that, which means in our marketing, we need to mention it. We need to bring this up. We need to talk about the pandemic. We need to talk about the safety. We need to talk about all of these things in our marketing now, which is one of the things that sets it the most apart from any other time in our history, because we weren't around in 1917 for the last pandemic. We're not that old. But in our lifetime, this is the first time we've had to deal with something like this to this degree. So that's a great point.
Yeah, and the extra marketing that we're doing right now is for, as I had mentioned earlier, later in the year, because it's just like, if I go back to my cooking analogies, because I love to cook, you don't throw spaghetti in the pot and then it cooks. You have to get the water warmed up and boiling, and then you throw it in. So we're warming up and boiling our marketing now so we can get those clients in there and get them cooked and get them ready to call us, if I can use a rough analogy there. And but the point is, if you go, well, there's nothing happening right now, so I just won't do any marketing because nobody's going to call. That's what everyone else is doing, perhaps. But that's why you want to do the opposite, which is we're here, we're ready to work with you, and we're also talking about the future. So we're not just talking about next week. We're talking about spring, summer, and fall. Do that now, get that rolling now so you're not waiting for that water to boil. And then suddenly we hit fall and you go, why don't I have any sessions? I better start marketing.
Yeah, the marketing you're going to be doing right now are going to be designed to bring you in clients now, but then also looking forward, because you're going to have some people who, even though you can photograph them right now, are not going to be comfortable to come in right now. So you're going to book them now for down the line. You don't just let them go and say, well, we'll talk when you feel better about it, or we'll talk when things are different. No, you get them on the calendar now. But also, the stuff we're talking about today is going to work in a post-COVID world just as well. So even a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line, when this is all a thing of the past, the marketing stuff we're talking about today will work just as well then also. Very important point there.
Yeah, and what Tom brought up here, where is very good point. He said most photographers aren't doing any marketing, and that's terrific. That is fantastic, because that will make your marketing that much more effective, and it will stand out from all that is not being done by other photographers, and you will become the leading photographer in your area.
Right. Yeah, you can't be passive right now like the other photographers that are not marketing right now, because they're thinking there's nothing I can do about this. And the truth of the matter is there is, and not only is there something you can do about this, there are people out there that are extremely hungry for what it is you offer as a product and service. There are people out there that are desperate to have portraits created right now because they're feeling it. They're realizing how things can be taken away in a moment's notice, more than they ever have before in their lifetime. But it's up to you to be proactive. Don't be passive. Don't just sit back and ride this out. Be proactive with your marketing. We're not talking about spending thousands and thousands of dollars on marketing. We're talking about being very careful, being very smart with your marketing, tracking it, watching things, testing them to see how they work, and then rolling them out to more and more people. You're going to love everything we're talking about today, because for the most part, everything we're going to talk about today is going to cost you little to no money to do. It is going to take time, but you got some time, right? If you were considering closing up the doors and riding this out, you got time, right? Don't do that. Don't close the doors. Instead, put the time into this marketing. Okay, a couple of overall marketing points first. Tom, I know you had a key point on the overall marketing plan of what we should be doing right now that you wanted to share before we jumped in.
Yeah, I think it's important. And what I've been doing is the clients that I have photographed recently, and I'll say that from the fall and even until January here, is that I let people know that. So if we do any kind of marketing, and in this point, particularly social media, we let people know this family that I photographed, recently. It lets people know this isn't something from 2 years ago when it was safer. They actually came in and were photographed, a month ago or whatever it is after the sale, when it's safe to post it online after the final business is done with your client and you have their written permission. So it lets people know, hey, that's the Jones family. And yeah, that's Sally. She's that age now. So they were in recently. They weren't afraid to come in. So Tom obviously is doing something right that makes people comfortable about coming in. And that's part of the testimonials too. It can be part of, when we came in recently and visited Tom, it was great. Or in my marketing copy, I could put something like that. This family I photographed a few weeks ago was terrific, etc.
And the reason this is so important is because one of the things I learned from the great Ken Whitmire was people want to do what they feel is already being done. So if you make it look and sound, and you're being honest, but I mean, you clearly show that it is being done now. Here is what I'm doing. We're having such a great time. That will greatly help your people to contact you and to move one step further forward towards being photographed by you.
Right. That's so important. Again, and it's putting into images and testimonials, words from your clients instead of you. Stresses that you are, not only can you photograph people right now, you are photographing people right now. And that goes a long way, because as people see that, they're going to go, oh, wow, I didn't think that could be done right. But obviously it can, because the Joneses did it. So fantastic point. And then if you can't photograph people right now in any way, shape, or form, you can't be outdoors with them because of the weather or because of stipulations. You can't be indoors anywhere, masks or no masks for anyone. Then at least be talking about spring and summer. Be looking forward to the time when you can be. And again, getting people on the books now. And these two key points go for every type of marketing we're talking, whether you're doing it on your social media, on your website, through joint venture marketing, exhibits, to your VIPs, direct mail, whatever it is that you're doing, those two key points we just talked about, if you can photograph people or if you can't, what you should be doing through your marketing right now.